So there's a lot going on in the world.
Has that ever happened?
We have turned to Governor Mike Huckabee.
Has that ever happened?
To sort it all out.
Has anyone ever fallen asleep on you in a subway?
No. Thank goodness.
Maybe it will be.
Funny.
Maybe that would be, or some of those afflictions would be covered under the Affordable Care Act if it can
Certainly,
get off the ground.
as would my maternity benefits, which I'm looking forward to, and children's dental health, because since our children are all grown, we don't have any kids, and I'm probably not going to have a baby. At least I'm covered, just in case.
Just in case.
Yes.
It's not a Wild West plan you
Right.
have.
Yeah.
So what does it mean that 39 Democrats broke with the White House yesterday to vote for the Upton bill, which would allow people to keep their insurance that was canceled?
This is political CYA, okay? So that's what this is about. These Democrats are in real trouble. They know they can't go back home and defend this. They've got far more people with canceled insurance than they do with people who suddenly have this wonderful insurance policy that's costing them $2,500 less. That turned out to be a complete myth. People are seeing their policies double, quadruple. There's anger out there. It's hostile. And no Democrat wants to go home and say, I'm sure proud I voted for that. So they need to say, I'm trying to fix it.
You've often talked on our show how the government can't get people jobs. The government should not be doing a program like this, cannot run a program like this. Charles Krauthammer last night on the Kelly File had this to say. I want to get you to respond.
Okay.
Unless it is somehow rescued and they make it work. This will be a story of an epic collapse of the central element of a new kind of liberalism, and this ideology will go down with the policy. That's why liberals are so afraid of this thing collapsing, and they are in horror at the train wreck that they are now witnessing.
You agree?
I think liberals don't yet understand that the reason it's collapsing is because it is destined to collapse. Already in the first week, we finally got some numbers. We found 3 times more people are on Medicaid than purchase the insurance, and of those who purchase, a lot of them are getting a subsidy. And I think what that means that you have a whole lot of people getting free product, very few people paying for the product, and the only way to pay for all the free product is to charge the paying people a whole lot more. Look, this isn't something that ought to be a big shock to anybody. So I agree with Charles that liberals are in a panic, but I don't know that liberals actually get it. I don't think they're that smart. I don't think liberals are smart enough to understand that you cannot continue to give things away without someday having to pay for it. Somebody has to do that.
Well, not just the rollout of the website, but the program seems to really be a debacle. No denying that. But the New York Times, you're recently comparing the Obamacare rollout to Hurricane Katrina for President Bush. Can you really compare the two?
No, I mean, one's a man-made disaster, and that's Obama's rollout, and the other was a natural disaster. Now, I will be the first to concede there were some real problems in the way that the administration, the Bush administration, handled the first few days of Katrina. Our state took 75,000 people in 3 days. It was a stunning 3% increase in our state's population. That's a pretty big jump. And so we dealt with a lot of challenges, but they started devolving power back to the states, letting people make decisions, and it worked out. So I think it's typical of the New York Times. They've got to look for something. Let's blame Bush. Why not? Let's go ahead and just say it's his fault. But, you know, here's the thing that the president's doing. He's scrambling. I mean, I've never seen a president scramble so much. And this ridiculous notion that he tells the insurance companies, go ahead and let them keep their policy, shows how inept he is and how little he understands of how insurance regulations work. It takes months to change an insurance regulation. You have administrative hearings, you have all this process, and for him to say, just go ahead and offer those policies, it'd be like the President of the United States saying to McDonald's, we order you to put the McRib on the menu.
Isn't that just trying to make them the bad guy?
What I don't understand is it's not the president's job constitutionally.
No.
This guy's a constitutional law professor, supposedly, to make the law. He signs the law or vetoes it. The legislative branch writes it. How is it constitutional for the president to decide parts of the law just aren't working, so I'm going to change them?
Not only is it unconstitutional, Tucker, but think about this. What's been the reason the Democrats have held up any possible changes to Obamacare, some that I bet they wish they'd have gone ahead and accepted, because they use this phrase, it's the law of the land.
Right.
And then he just goes in there and unilaterally decides which pieces of the law that he will either accept, change, enforce, or completely ignore.
And I didn't hear him say this at the podium, but this undermines his entire argument that these are scam policies.
Yeah.
These are bad policies and the rescission,
exactly.
right? That they were all scam policies that people, once they got sick, would then be dropped from their insurance plans. These are better plans. And now I didn't hear him say that on the podium. That these plans were.
He can't. I mean, this is like saying we've taken some really bad medicine off the shelf because it's going to hurt you, and then 3 days later come back and says, you know, we want you to go ahead and have access to that really bad medicine. So what if it makes you sick? We don't care. It's our political rear that matters.
Counterfeit Chinese dog food,
rear.
right? Yeah, no, go ahead and eat it.
Yeah.
But do we like when a president takes responsibility and says he's sorry? I mean, is this going to help him? Does this wipe the slate clean for anyone?
Well, I think what he's sorry for, he's sorry that his plan's not working. I don't know that he's sorry of the inconvenience that he's caused to the people who are either losing their health care or seeing their rates triple to the point that it's unaffordable. The irony of all of this is done in the name of the Affordable Care Act, and most Americans who had insurance are finding it's unaffordable. And let's never forget that we had 85% of the marketplace covered, 15% that weren't. We're disrupting 100% of the marketplace to fix the 15. We should have carved out the 15. We could have done a backbone of Medicaid, creating a pool for people who are high risk. It could have worked. You pay deductibles, co-pays, you control utilization. This could have worked, and it would have been simple.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. No one remembers that. This was all done on behalf of a tiny group. So tell us about what's on the show today.
Well, we're going to have Rick Santorum. He'll be there to talk about Obamacare and the strategy of Republicans going forward. We've got a fascinating young man who has got an MBA from Fordham, can't find a job, so he sets up a little table in front of the biggest brokerage houses on Wall Street with coffee and donuts that he's given away along with his resume, looking for...
Wow.
You got to give him credit for the creativity. And Chris Jansen, country singer, will be with us tonight. It's going to be a great show.
Fantastic. You'll catch that 8 p.m. tonight here on the Fox News Channel. Governor, great to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks.